Next, we have a presentation from Cannon Resources with the ticker code CNR. To tell us more about their nickel and base metal projects in WA, I will now hand you over to the CEO, Stephen Lynn. Good afternoon, Stephen.
Good afternoon. This is an investor presentation from the Battery Minerals Conference of the 7th of April. We've had a little bit of an update since then, but it's essentially the same. So I'll just go through it and I'll provide that update on drilling at Saber. We had some assays come in earlier this week, and I'll talk about that at that point in the slideshow. So just the normal disclaimers that people should read at their leisure. So investment highlights for Cannon. We've got high-grade Class 1 nickel resources. We've got two project areas that contain Class 1 nickel resources. Our Fisher East project, which has 116 kilotons of contained nickel, and our Kolya tenements, which have 9.3 kilotons of contained nickel. The main focus of our work has been Fisher East, and that will remain so for the next few months. We're doing quite a lot of work there. And we have since last year. So we started drilling at Fisher East when we IPO'd in August last year. We did about 7,500 meters of diamond drilling at Fisher East. That was from August through to about December. That work has enabled us to expand the resource there. We've expanded the resources in Fisher East by 49%, up to 116 kilotons of contained nickel. That was at Musket, where we increased the resource from 32 to 45. And at Saber, we managed to do a maiden resource of 24.5 kilotons. So we're still drilling. We started drilling at Fisher East in late March. So we've been going about a month, and all that work was at Saber. We've moved the drill rig over to Musket now, and I'll go through those project areas in more detail in a second. So we're targeting expansion at Musket and Saber. We're picking on those two deposits because we really like what we're seeing there. I'll describe the prospects in more detail in a second. And our market valuation, around about $35 million. It is standout value on our asset base. We have the second largest asset base of all the juniors in Western Australia. The only one with more resource than us would be Poseidon. So we're in that sort of scale. So company snapshot, well, we have about 85 million shares on issue. We have three main shareholder groups. We have Rox Resources, Ponderosa, and Hawke's Point. They're our cornerstone investors. They own around about a quarter of our shares, and they're long-term holders of our stock, and they will remain so. So our share price has never gone below about 30 cents since IPO, and currently pushing up to 40. So board and management. So there's myself. I'm a geologist. About 25 years experience. I've worked in nickel and gold, VMS. Trevor Benson, Alex Passmore, and Richard Bevan are the non-executive directors. Trevor's the chairman. Trevor comes from a finance background. Alex is a geologist as well, but he is also managing director of Rox Resources. And then Richard Bevan is a company director, has lots of experience, and is chairman of a number of companies in the mining space at the moment. So our Fisher East project is our main asset. We've got 4 deposits there, totaling 116 kilotons, and I've got the resource figures there. The total is 6.4 million tons at 1.8% nickel for 116 kilotons. Musket is the one we like the most. That's 2.4 million tonnes at 1.9% nickel for 45.5. Now, the reason we like it the most is it's because it's nice and contained. It's got a vertical sort of plunge. It's got good thickness. The grade is consistent through the deposit. It's generally not going under about 1.9% nickel. We're getting good mining thicknesses, minimum of around about 5 meters or so, up to about 17 meters thickness. We've got high grade nickel at the base. The high grade massive sulfide at Musket goes up to 20% nickel. We obviously want to find more of that, but it's a disseminated style ore body, and it's got a very good grade profile. So that's why we're looking at it with intensity. Collurabbie, on the other hand, is a different style of nickel resource. That's an intrusive style, more akin to Nova or Savannah. The style of ore body is an intrusive ultramafic rock, and we get a different suite of elements. We get nickel, copper, cobalt, PGE. Much smaller resource, not so open. With the Fisher East deposits, they're all open at depth and internally as well. So Fisher East is around about 115 kilometres as the crow flies from BHP's operation at Leinster and Mount Keith. By existing roads, around about 200 kilometres from Leinster. So well within trucking distance if we want to go down a toll treating route. So the 4 deposits at Fisher East are all komatiite hosted base of channel deposits, or they're all sitting on the same contact. They're all completely open. They've got a similar sort of scale to them. They're in a 8-kilometre section of the host rocks, which is the basal komatiite flow, and which represents a seafloor position. So they were deposited horizontally underwater in the deep sea, and they have since now been folded and are standing up on their end. So you can see they've got a semi-vertical profile to them. That's because the rocks have been now folded and the sequence is standing semi-vertical. I want to talk about Musket in particular. So here's the latest resource for Musket. We expanded it by 44% with our drilling from last year. It's now 2.4 million tonnes, 1.9% nickel, 45.5 kilotons contain nickel. We have the resource drilled down to about 600 metres. As I said, the grade profile is reasonably consistent right through the deposit all the way down to 600 metres, and I've put up there some key holes for you to have a look at. The key point here at Musket is it's still open and it's still expandable. So this is just a look at the rocks at Musket. It's a komatiite ultramafic lava. It's got nickel sulfides in it. Now it's a disseminated style of mineralization similar to the Cosmos deposit, and this hole here that I've picked is at the average grade for the deposit, 1.9, and this is very typical of what we see. So we get good grades. Where we get semi-massive sulfide, the grade goes up. So you can see a section there where it's 4.9% nickel, which is due to this little bit of massive that we're seeing in that part of the core. And this hole is from the center of the ore body. So this slide is showing us the areas coloured blue there are those areas outside of the resource that I think we have potential to expand the resource into. And those square or rectangular objects there are downhole EM plates that we have generated on that northern side of the ore body. Now that's the area we're going to be exploring. And so what I've got here is our provisional drill holes that we're targeting that area with. So this is part of our current program. We've got about 6,000 metres or so planned here. This drilling is underway now and will be completed by around about June or July. And we're expecting encouraging results. All the areas targeted are those areas outside the current resource. There'll be no drilling inside the current resource. So we're looking forward to those results. Going over to Saber, 1.8 million tonnes at 1.4% nickel for 24.5 kilotons of contained nickel. Now, Saber is got a slightly lower grade than Musket, but it's a bigger deposit and it hasn't been drilled to the same extent. So we've only drilled it down to 300 metres. Drill spacing is around about 80 metres between holes. And there's still a lot more work to be done. What we did last year is we did some drilling above the top of the ore body in the regolith, in the weathered part of the rocks. And what happened is we got a very strong PGE result. And the PGE data is shown there. The PGE data had sort of 3 high levels to it. And we thought those high levels represented down plunge extension to the ore body. So that's where we're concentrating our work. Those blue areas there shown are the areas above the 300 metre vertical where we think the ore body can be expanded. We ended up drilling these holes here. Now we've done most of these holes, including the hole that's on the above northern side. That hole has now come back, and we got very good results out of that. We had 5.7 metres at 2.6% nickel in that hole with massive sulfide as well. So we now know that northern side has got ore in it, and the aim is to expand the resource here. Just quickly going on to Kolurabbie. Kolurabbie, we have about 15 kilometres of strike extent. It's an area with multiple hits of strong mineralisation. A lot of these haven't been followed up very well, and more work needs to be done there. So we're planning to get in there and start drilling this area later this year. And at the moment, we're doing a geophysical appraisal of the data and reprocessing some of the geophysical data to come up with better targets. So that's where we sit. The company has high-grade resources already, 125 in total of kilotons of contained nickel, including Collurabbie, 116 at Fisher East. All of our resources at Fisher East are completely open at depth and completely open laterally as well. We have significant strike potential for new discoveries. We're currently drilling underway at Fisher East. We plan to do about 7,000 to 8,000 metres of diamond drilling up until mid-year or so. And, the aim of that is to grow the resources again in a substantial way. And we'll have that information coming in the next few months. So our price at the moment, 35 million market cap, represents an extremely positive upside on our asset base of 125 kilotons of contained nickel. So thank you very much, everybody, and I'll hand you back to Jane.
Thanks, Stephen. Just a question for you. So how big do you think each of the individual resources can be with further drilling? There have been some impressive recent grades. So do you think this could be a 200,000 tonne plus resource?
I do think we're aiming for a 200 kiloton resource in total at Fisher East. I think the field has that potential. Now, of course, we need to drill to understand that potential and realise it, but that's our expectation, and that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for 200 plus.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.